host, Savannah Grace. Throughout the podcast, which is an output of Duke University's Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity, we'll be talking to some of the folks doing great work in the center and around campus to further the body of knowledge and justice. Today, we're bringing you some words from Skye Wilson. I'm lucky enough this year to get to work with Skye. She's the new program coordinator at the center, meaning she does the dirty work of all the events that we put on. She orders the food, does the logistics, makes sure we have the spaces, etc., etc. By all accounts, she's a superwoman. I'm sitting with Skye in her office. She's dressed brightly, in red pants and a teal sweater, and she offers me her candy bowl as she finishes writing up an email before we record. There's a bisexual pride flag hanging above her desk, and the bottom two shelves of her bookcase are stacked with clothes to donate to the LGBTQ Center of Durham's Trans Closet events. She smiles easily and talks with a gentle, assuring tone, leaning slightly back across the desk when she gets to a place of passion. So, can I ask you to say your full name and your pronouns, please?
My name is Skye Wilson. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
And what do you do at the center?
I am the Student Development Coordinator here at the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity. When I was an undergrad, I worked at the LGBT Center at UNC as a work-study student. I really loved the job. I just liked being able to connect with folks who also identified within the community, and then also just to be doing such great work and to feel like what I was doing was making a difference on campus. But I never thought about that as a career, so I kind of came to this job in a roundabout way, actually. Once I got out of school, I was doing some filmmaking and videography work, and I was using a lot of that medium to do advocacy work and to inform people of just issues by doing, I made a little TV series or whatever for YouTube with a couple of friends, and I made a documentary for the LGBT Center at UNC that they're actually still using during some of their trainings, so that really makes me feel good because that was quite a while ago. So that's kind of what I was doing for a little while, and then I went to grad school and I got a job there as a graduate assistant. They didn't have an LGBT center, which really sucked because I was literally the only person on payroll at the university who dealt with LGBTQ issues, and I was part-time, I was 20 hours a week. So it was just way too much for one person to handle at 20 hours a week with 10 or 20, 30,000 students. So it was a lot of responsibility that I felt at that job. And so I ended up actually leaving that, and then just because it was taking up too much emotional time and too much actual time, and I wasn't able to get to my studies as well as I should have been doing, and so I left that position and started doing my internship at the LGBT Center in Norfolk, Virginia. And there I was doing counseling, so I was doing mental health counseling with folks who identified within the community or folks who didn't identify within the community but walked into the center. I worked with a lot of trans folks and lower SES folks and people of color, and I just really liked the diversity that the LGBT Center up there pulled in. So I just really loved that work, and that's when I really started thinking I could actually do this for a living. And so I talked to my supervisor there, and they were looking for an assistant director, and she offered me a job, and I really, really wanted it, but at the same time I didn't want to live there. And so I'd applied for this job here at Duke and ended up getting a phone call the same day that my supervisor offered me a job with this job offer. So I was like, oh, I'm from North Carolina, I want to go back, this is exactly where I want to be. So I said screw it, and I took this job, and I couldn't be happier. I felt really lucky to have choices, especially in the field that I actually wanted to go into, because when I was in school I was realizing maybe I don't want to be a therapist full time, maybe that's just not the life that I want to live. And so to get 2 job offers on literally the same day for 2 amazing jobs was it blew my mind. I didn't know how to handle that. Actually, when I got the phone call from Nick here at the center, I was So it was actually the Friday before my brother's wedding on Saturday. And so like I was in the car with my aunt. I was like taking her around town while she was like hunting for shoes for the wedding. And so I was like driving and my phone rang and it was Nick. And so like I answered the phone like while I was trying to make a really wide and dangerous left turn, which is not a good idea. So I don't recommend it. Like thinking back, he could have gone to voicemail and it would have been fine. But so that's where I was, in the middle of a dangerous intersection.
Is that a metaphor for your life?
I like that. It might be.
Maybe.
I do feel like I live at an intersection a lot, so. I don't feel like I have a typical day, which is such a cliche answer. I mean, I feel like a typical day-ish would be like me coming in, answering some emails, kind of seeing like what's been going on for the few hours that I wasn't here overnight, because there's always something, and like checking in on any programming that happened the night before, just so I can kind of see like what's going on with folks and get a lay of the land, and then usually around like 10 or 11 students start rolling in my office, and so usually my day consists of me trying to fit work in between students, because students are the most important thing. Student is literally in my title, so like I feel like my job first and foremost is to serve students. So whenever someone walks into my office, I try to make a really good effort to maintain, like, be present, and to be with them and to be whatever that they need in that moment. You know, sometimes they just want to sit down and like do homework in my office with me, and that's cool. Sometimes they just stop by and get some candy, or sometimes they want to talk about some really deep things, and so I'll close the door and we'll talk for an hour or whatever the person needs. So that's why I really don't consider myself having a typical day, because it really just depends on who walks into my office at what time. The thing that I'm the most excited about here is the students. Like, y'all, and I'm not just saying this because you are a student here, but y'all are so freaking smart. Like, you all know what's going on in the world. You all understand the theory. You all understand how it applies in the everyday world, and you all want to make a change. And that energy really keeps me going, and it keeps me happy, and it keeps me wanting to come in, because I can see that there will be a change. It's not going to come as fast as any of us want, but I know that, like, looking and working with y'all, I know that like one of you or all of you or like some of you are going to be like in history books because of a change. And just to know that I have a small part of like a hand in that, it makes me feel really good, because, you know, I just think that that's how it should be. And that's the energy, like that's the great energy I get from working at a college campus, and particularly this university. Something I'm apprehensive about. Sometimes I worry that I'm not giving enough. Sometimes I worry that I'm not being enough for folks. And so, I mean, that really helps me, I feel like, keep on my toes and motivates me to read more and just to know more so that I can do more and to help more. But sometimes I do worry about that I'm not able to fully provide what may be needed here.
What's something that you want every student that comes through your office to know when they leave it?
That I'm here to help them, that I'm here to, like, whatever change that they want to make, I am here, I'm a resource, and that they truly can come back and that someone cares.
I'm on a mission to ask every one of this podcast guests to share their practices for self and communal care in an ever-shifting world. Especially in a university setting where priority is placed on the now and the fast and the prestigious, it's important to be able to slow down. So, after our interview, I asked Skye to share with me some of her rituals and habits that offer her restorative energy.
One thing that I really enjoy doing is I have like this special tea that I drink at night, and so I'll make myself a cup of tea, do like a little meditation basically. So I'll just sit with my tea, reflect on my day, and turn off all my electronics for that time, and just sit until I feel ready and calm and able to transition on to going to sleep, or to reading a book before bed, or whatever it is that I'm going to do. But that just really helps me to like, think through the day, helps me to kind of plan a little bit for tomorrow, but then at the same time being able to focus on like what's right in front of me, which is my mug of tea and my coffee table. And that just reminds me that sometimes like that's really all you need is what's right in front of you. Another thing I like to do is read. I really love reading. So that's some me time that I usually try to take. If not every day, every couple of days at the very least. So I'm reading like a bunch of books because I'm always reading a lot of books because I'm terrible about finishing them. But the book I just started is called Stiff. It's a story, or not story, but it's about the history of cadavers and just the things that our body go through after we die. No, so I love podcasts. So one thing I do actually is like I listen to podcasts while I fall asleep, because it also helps me like to not think about the day and not to get caught up too much in my head. And then I take the bus into work every day, and home, and that really, really helps because I just get to put on either music or a podcast, and for those 10 minutes, you know, that's all I'm doing. All I'm doing is listening to this song or this podcast. I'm not thinking about anything else, and it really helps me transition between personal and professional, though the two are interchangeable, really, but it just really gets me into a better state of mind. So the podcast that one of the podcasts I listen to religiously, like as soon as it comes out every week, is called The Read, and it's my favorite because they talk about pop culture, they talk about politics, they talk about kind of everything, and they also do like listener letters where folks can write in and tell them about their crazy lives and ask for advice. And so it's just a really good mix of humor and vapid pop culture information, but then also talking about the real issues. You know, at the end of the show they do a read, so they talk about, you know, whatever's on their mind or heart or making them upset for that week, and it's usually something dealing with the political realm, and they're very real. They're two queer black individuals, and so I just really enjoy like hearing their point of view because it really almost always it mirrors mine, but also they usually will like add something that I hadn't thought about and just make me take a step and try to see things in a different perspective. So I like that. They challenge me. And they make me laugh.
Thanks again to our guest this episode, Skye Wilson. Rainbow Devilcast is produced by me, Savannah Grace. Our theme song is Two-Hearted River by Snake Oil Salesman. Other music for this episode was Departures by Airtone, Flower by Doc St. Sigmund, and Acoustic Breeze by Ben Sound. Big thanks to my emotional supporters, Angel Colley, Skye Wilson, Nick Antonici, Mita Connor, Melly Bonanno, Janelle Taylor, Michael Bledgy, and Quinn Baker. Find newest episodes of the Rainbow Devilcast by subscribing to the Duke Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity on YouTube or SoundCloud. You can also find the episodes and more information about the center at studentaffairs.duke.edu/CSGD. Peace and love to all.
I love podcasts, so I listen to and I'm on a podcast. Wow.
We've come full circle.
It's like Inception.